All right. So, welcome back to the show. I have my friend Shashanth, who currently lives in Dubai, who's going to kind of talk to us about life, what he does, his career path, how he's gotten there, and we're just going to have like a casual conversation. So, I'm going to call him Bong just for reference as well because that's his nickname and we've been calling him that for years. So, not going to go into why, but that's just his nickname. So, just refer to him as Bong at least on my end. Vong, and if you want to introduce yourself.
Well, thank you for having me on your podcast. Let's not dive into why they call me Bong, but now everybody calls me Shash. No one can say my name too easily. But yeah, I am living in Dubai for almost a year now. I know Manoj for about a decade, I think. Right? It's been almost a decade, more than a decade. No,
Yeah,
just a decade. Yeah.
I'd say maybe like 12 years now since I was like 16, since 11th grade, so 16.
And yeah, I work in the finance space. I'm a risk analyst at a retail trading proprietary firm. I'm sure through the course of this podcast, we're going to talk about that. And yeah, happy to be here, man.
Thanks for that intro. Yeah, I mean, so probably just a couple questions about what you do. Explain it to me. I kind of have a basic understanding of it. I'm not obviously familiar with what you do on a day to day, but what does your kind of day to day look like at your job?
Well, I started in this company as employee number 7. We were a small little proprietary retail facing firm. For the rest of the podcast, I'm going to call it a prop firm. In the traditional financial finance space, a proprietary trading firm and a prop firm have two difference, but we're just going to stick to what I do or the space I work. So we basically fund traders. Before I dive into the unethical part of this space, just to give you a ground level understanding, we provide capital, simulated capital for traders who want to trade certain asset classes that we provide. We ask them to pay, they participate in a challenge. It's an evaluation challenge where they pay a certain fee. Consider this as an exam. In this exam, you have to achieve a certain profit target or play within the rules. Every challenge has a different set of rules. They're governed by how much money you make, how much money you lose, and if you succeed in achieving these targets within the rules that we have established, you get simulated capital where you trade and you make money, and we take a small little share from that simulated capital. In a nutshell, we provide leverage on simulated capital to traders across the world.
Interesting. And how long has this company kind of been doing this for?
This space has been there for about 10, 11 years. So the kingmakers of the space, the ones that actually brought this entire product to market have completed 10 years this year, right? A month ago, October, this company called FTMO, they were the first proprietary trading prop firm in this space. We've been in this for almost 3 years. This November 14th would make it 3 years in this space. Yeah.
So how do you enjoy working at a financial company? I know you didn't start off. I think initially you wanted to become an architect, right? When you
Yeah.
first finished 12th grade, you wanted to get into being an architect. How'd you kind of lead up to getting into this finance space?
Well, the formative years of my life have been a roller coaster. After giving up on formal education, decided to get my hands a little dirty and do agriculture, which was fun. But due to COVID, the pandemic just brought the whole world to a halt, and I couldn't go out to the farm, so I had to pivot. And just trying to make the most of staying at home and upskilling, I landed into just trading in a nutshell. Just like a lot of people who started trading due to the pandemic, dabbled in this space. I was at the right place at the right time. One of my mentor decided to open up or start his venture, and his venture is called Funding Pips. That's the company I work for. One thing led to another. I was just in the right place at the right time.
So you think just with your initial, I guess, career, you wanted to start out being an architect, you moved into agriculture, then now you're in finance. How would you kind of say your path has evolved as you've grown older? Is it kind of just due to life itself or just fading interests?
There's a little bit of both, right? This opportunity didn't come knocking on the door. Well, nothing comes knocking on the door. I think you just seize your opportunities that are presented, right? And I pivoted to agriculture because of one of my traveling expedition. Just saw an Instagram post. He wanted to do something, and I was just ready to take the leap of faith. Or finance is something like that. I was actually bamboozled by Instagram lifestyle traders who are making back $100,000 a day. Just blew my mind thinking that you can sit at home and make so much of money. So I just went for it.
No, I think especially knowing you for so many years, you've definitely been able to pivot very easily and you definitely put in the work in whatever you're doing. You've definitely been the kind of person who doesn't just like half-ass something. So I definitely think that's one of your good qualities. How do you think, or what do you find most rewarding about your job and how do you enjoy it? Do you feel fulfilled at the moment?
What do I find most fulfilling about my job? Well, that answer has evolved. In the start, it was exposure to a side of institutional workflow that really was grinding my gears because sitting at home gets you a certain amount of exposure. And as you work with people who have been in this space for many years, you start understanding the nuances. And after a certain amount of time, it was just not the exposure that was exciting, but also the learning curve dramatically diversified. Like it's the Dunning Kruger effect, but you also understand that when you realize that there's something that you don't know, you get to see a side of retail traders. Like as part of my job, I even conduct risk assessments, right? A risk assessment is something where we define how a trader's behavior is either good for our company, bad for our company. Good and bad is subjective, of course, but it also determines their flow, the way they handle risk. Are they trading in an abusive format? Have they understood that this system is can be gamified in the flow of a casino, and are they exploiting the leverage that we provide? So by interacting with retail traders across the world, you get to see people who have spent years of their time trying to figure this out. You learn from them, you see how their strategy works, and you completely understand that one strategy or multiple strategies that work in the market, right? I can't just say, if this happens, you do this. And by meeting so many people, you realize that everyone can be profitable. And just the exposure, that's something that's really exciting every day, knowing that at least one or two calls with traders across the world who are profitable. I don't really interview the people who are not profitable. These are people who have an edge. Either it's an abusive edge or it's a really good edge that you can make money with. So yeah, I think that's the best part about my job right now.
Interesting. So I think just from what you're saying, you kind of started out as a trader yourself, and through this job, you've kind of been able to view it through the lens of both the corporate side and then as well as the trading side, seems like it.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you were to trade now, you'd probably have a significant edge over someone who's just starting out as a trader, would you say?
Absolutely. I wouldn't make the same mistakes, won't fall in the same pits. If I were able to redo it again with the knowledge that I have, I'd save at least 2 years of stupid mistakes everyone goes through. Yeah.
So, what skills do you think you need to become a profitable trader? And then what are some skills you've kind of developed from just your experiences itself?
Interesting. Let's see. I don't want to give you a surface level answer because it's important to. You can find surface level answers on the internet, right? You can just Google how to be a successful, profitable trader, and you can find these surface level answers. So I've conducted almost 1,000 risk assessments in the last 3 years. And from what I've seen as a pattern with successful traders, right, is one, they have a set discipline. And discipline is not about a lifestyle choice, it's not about following your rules. I think the discipline comes from just knowing who you are, knowing your ability to manage risk, execute. There's no bullshit within themselves. At least they're trying to reach the space where they're not lying to themselves. In the world of trading, it's you against the computer at the end of the day, right? You have many actors who are financially participating in the market. But when you look at a retail trader is someone like you and me, Manoj, who just sits behind a computer, looks at the data, and tries to make a speculation, either based on a strategy, either based on a flip of a coin. Everyone has their own strategy. Some people even look at indicators that plot lunar charts or lunar phases of the moon and make a decision, right? So it again comes down to one being disciplined, and here discipline, as I said, is just being true to yourself and executing within what you think is right. Right, that's one. Second thing I feel is everyone has an edge that is statistically verified. It's not a it's not a gut feeling that you go for, but I feel there is statistical edge. Either you statistically gain this edge through backtesting, or you get that through live trading, right? So they understand that this is their strategy and this is what works. So you either backtest or you live test. It's up to you. It's how you want to deploy your capital. That's the second thing I've noticed, that a lot of successful traders do have that. And I think that's a key indicator whether or not you're going to be a profitable trader. And the third and the most important thing is having a system. I think that is very important, right? To know when to enter a predefined entry system. I think those are the three things that profitable traders emulate.
What about exits? What did you say? Predefined exit is also crucial? Because just personally from my experience, and I'd love to hear from you about it as well, there have been points where I've invested in a cryptocurrency, for example. My crypto has gone up. Maybe I've doubled my money, but obviously everyone gets greedy, right? You're just like, oh, it's going to go up even more. I'm just going to leave it in there and then take out profits and I'll be rich, you know? So do you think a predefined exit would also be crucial for someone who's supposed to be a successful trader?
So, what is a system, right? A system determines when you're going to enter, why are you entering, if certain patterns, there are multiple segments of a chart. You either look at candlestick, order flow, DOMs, volume. People have so many different entry models. So, a system involves predefined notions to enter and exit. How much you want to risk per trade, how much you want to get from that risk. It's called a risk to reward. All this has to be determined. You're not speculating on these fundamental structures of your system.
You're kind of taking emotion out of it and just going by your set principles, then looks like it.
Well, even if you have a system, it is an emotional roller coaster, right? Because you do have money being waged, but the only thing that allows you to place that trade and believe that it's going to go is you've calculated how much you want to lose per trade. That's how the entry and exit model works, right? Discretionary trading is always emotional. We're not algorithms without a certain amount of emotion. It's extremely exciting when you place a trade. There are certain times when the volatility is so high, it feels like you're in the slot machine. You're literally in Vegas because if something moves, it moves. During certain news events when data is released, it moves and it feels fun.
No, for sure. I mean, I think it's ups, you're definitely excited, you're happy, and then downs, it's like dread and despair, right? So obviously, how you're gonna not be emotional when you're making money or you're losing money? So
That's why well, if you have an edge, if you have a system, you're able to be on top of that.
no, definitely, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think even just with retail investing, you definitely want to make sure you have certain limits that you're gonna go to when you're trying to invest money. When you're losing money, making money, it's definitely good to have a sort of limit. More question towards the trading side. So as someone who is not a retail trader, right? How would you kind of have them, or What do you think is the best way to get into trading? What could someone do to maybe start day trading, like what you do, discretionary trading? You think a course? What do you think about course sellers? You think that's a good way to get into it?
We've had a lot of conversations about this. It's fun in 2025. Learning through a course is arguably the easiest thing to do, right? It's everywhere. AI is empowering self-learning on a very intimate perspective, right? Or if you go on YouTube, you learn from someone or you'll watch videos, you have questions and you can ask ChatGPT exactly what you want to know about that person's strategy because their course is on the internet now. If you don't understand, let's say, chapter 2 liquidity, the slide that he's presenting, ChatGPT can be your personal teacher. So learning has never been easier. How would you learn? Is a very interesting segment. I'll take it back to how I had my expectations completely wrong. When I started trading, I thought I could make $10,000 a day sitting at home, and it's gonna be the easiest thing. 2 months into it, I'd buy myself the first Lamborghini of Indranagar and just ball out. That was my idea, right? But you get humbled as soon as you take your first big loss and you understand that even a doctor, it takes 5 years to just clear your MBBS, right? Then you have to do your MD and then you do your super specialization. Here, your bread and butter is to outsmart people who have PhDs. Do you know the most successful hedge fund is called the Renaissance Medallion Fund? It's by Jim Simons. He is a mathematician. He only hires PhD personnels to run the fund. It is the most successful hedge fund period in the market. It gives you an annual return of 60 to 70%, right? In institutional trading in hedge funds, they have a 220 and a 330 rule. That means 20% of the profit and 2% is their annual maintenance fee. That is the high end of a hedge fund. That means if they make 10% of your 1 billion, that is 100 million. They take 20% off that 100 million. That's their cut. If a client parks $1 billion and they make 10%, market average or the S&P has been giving 12 to 15%. Let's keep 12 as the most base level. Anything that beats the market average, that's alpha. That's what you would consider as your base level of investment return. The Renaissance Fund was giving 60%, and they determined a new benchmark of 30% plus 3%. That is, you have an annual maintenance fee. So if you have 1 billion, they take 30 million. Just that's another small amount. It's not a small amount of change, but they take that in, right? So when you see how institutional traders operate, right, and when you come back to retail trading and learning how to trade, you're really a minute drop in the ocean. You're not trying to beat these people. 90% of the market is run by algorithms. Let's just be completely at face value, right? All these people that teach you retail trading concepts, they make more money selling courses than they make through discretionary trading. Not saying that the system doesn't work. There are profitable traders, right? But when you take a statistical representation of how many people make money and how many people lose money, it's fine. The edge cases does exist. So, circling back to your question of how to learn, it's best to take a mentorship from someone who has proven data over 10 years or 5 years. Don't take months, because when you see there's something called off the shelf algorithms, you and I can go on the internet and type trading algorithm for scalping, for tick scalping. These are for different strategies, right? There's a strategy called layering. There's a strategy called grid trading. It's basically forms of trading, mathematical calculations of how you want to trade. When these bots are shared to the general public to be sold, right? They have a profitable window. That means for 4 months they're profitable. After that, they go bust. So you'll get like a 200% return and they'll do a minus 800% return after that, right? So anyone who doesn't have a verified track record of at least 2 to 3 years, the more the better, right? And it has to be a third party verified track record. Don't trust anyone who promotes brokers. Say, like an influencer, a course seller, or a lifestyle Forex trader, right? They have many sources of income, right? This space is filled with corrupt business models. One of those business models is taking an affiliate link from a particular broker, right? So much. This is like a whole word vomit of different institutes and how they play. But when you see how these people make money, I'm just going to scratch the surface, and later, if you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. But they have an affiliate fee, right? If, let's say, you and I invest a certain amount of money, the most popular platforms of brokerage in the world for retail traders, let's take cryptocurrency, right? Is Binance. I think everyone knows about Binance. In the brokerage space, there are multiple CFD brokerage that take retail trader money, right? If and this value is determined by individual brokers. So if I deposit, let's say $500, right? If it's below a certain amount, the broker doesn't execute the trades at all. Like, it doesn't go to the market. Again, this is another huge deviation of A book, B book, C book. We'll dive into that later if you want to. But what I'm trying to say is that when you take these lifestyle traders and they take their affiliate link, the money you put in goes directly to them. The broker just wants a little bit of it, because traders who deposit small amount most of the time lose their money. They don't know what they're doing. So if you put $500, right? $500, it depends on how they negotiate with the broker, right? They just keep the money. It doesn't get executed. That's one. Second is course selling. These courses are very rudimental, give you a very small overview of how trading is, right? So the best way to go to learn in 2025 would be to go to a mentor who has a track record, who's participated in cups. You know, there are trading tournaments out there. There's a
Didn't know
cup
that.
There's a cup called Robinson Cup that's basically the best traders in the world, retail traders, not institutional traders, retail traders who participate to basically be called the best trader in the world. And go to them, dude. Like, you learn from them. They have courses. You spend a lot more money, but you don't need to waste 2, 3 years of your life. If you really want to get a good passive income, you spend some money and you learn from them. I think that's the best way to go about it.
So essentially, you're just trying to get ahead of the curve. So instead of wasting time or spending years trying to develop your own strategy or scour the internet for sort of information, you're kind of going to the best and getting their tips and their tricks and kind of learning from their mistakes instead of making your own, was what you would say.
Yeah. Yeah, you can say that. Yeah. I think
Interesting.
that is a better way to go at it. Yeah.
So what does a typical workday kind of look like for you at Funding Pips?
Um, well, so I handle the customer facing part of risk, right? Or everything that deals with, we do internal reviews of reward requests. So when traders, for this, I need to explain how a prop firm works, right? So there are two phases. Most standard prop firms that exist are built on multiple challenge models. These models are built only to prevent a trader to reaching the. Let's be honest, Manoj. This space is filled with a lot of scammers. This entire industry is regulated and unregulated, right? So a typical day would be to review accounts that have reached the master account level, right? And when they trade, I look at their strategy, I look at their flow, I see if they've abided by the rules that we have. And if they have abided, they've requested a reward. If it's good, I approve it and goes to the back office and they approve it. Majority of my day revolves around looking at trade and trading history and understanding the client's trading flow. That's one part of it. Second part would be to conduct risk assessments with traders who have abusive flows, who we want to know what is going on, right? Or if we've caught them with something, caught them in some kind of malpractice, signal service, and we need to kick them out, or that's again something that I do. And yeah, that's basically how my day goes.
So what do you mean by malpractice?
Okay, so there are multiple flows that exist, right? When I start, let's understand the prop space is simulated capital. Simulated capital is not real money. It's demo trading in a nutshell. When you look at demo trading, there are multiple ways to exploit demo trading. So there are prohibited strategies. One of the most common strategies out there is reverse trading between multiple proprietary trading firms. So what traders do is that prop firms don't share their data. So if they buy in funding pips, they can sell in another prop firm, right? Analyzing their trading behavior is the biggest telltale sign that they're cheating. So that's one exploitive pattern. There are multiple exploitive patterns. We've developed many internal tools that allow us to gauge trading behavior or put it under different brackets. We have a risk engine that allows us to help us do this as well. Yeah.
So has AI kind of been implemented in your guys' systems at your company, or is that something you guys are still working on, developing?
The problem with AI is that once your data is fed into the AI, it's no longer your data, right? You cannot feed sensitive data into it. Uh, so we have no implementation of AI with our risk analysis. We don't have any direct connection to AI with our risk engine. So no, we don't use the space yet.
So you guys would essentially have to develop your own AI yourself to kind of implement it from what you're saying.
We use a risk engine. A risk engine is just a form of setting parameters that you want the system to catch with the enormous DB that we have. And yeah, that's so you can't call that an AI, right? But yeah, that's a software that we've built internally. It's proprietary to our firm.
Interesting. So it's only used by your firm, developed by your firm, essentially.
The one that we operate, yeah, we do, but every firm, every financial company or financial service has their own unique software that they run.
Interesting. So what do you enjoy about this on a day to day? I know you kind of said it's a lot of learning, a lot of challenges, but do you see yourself maybe doing this the next 10 years, 15 years? Maybe is it a short term role, gig?
Currently, I don't see myself doing this for 10 years for sure. One of the main reasons why I wanted to do this corporate job is to, one, gain as much as I can in a small period of time. If I had to learn about what's out there by myself, it would have taken me 5 to 10 years to even reach this level of knowledge that I have, right? Like my chief risk officer, he's an oasis of knowledge. He's been doing this for a long time. Just picking his brain gives you a lot of insight on various things. Right. So to answer your question, no, I don't see myself doing this for 10 years. That's for sure. I'd love to just branch out and just spread myself into various forms of trading. And what keeps me really happy right now is to just meet traders who have profitable strategy and understand how they trade, just vivisect their strategy, their psychology, their risk management practices. Take a little bit of everything and see what works for me.
So kind of developing your best strategy at the same time of working at the moment.
Absolutely. That's
That's the
bullseye.
goal.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense. Definitely work for yourself is always nicer than working at a corporate job, right?
Yeah. Of
So
course.
I'd love to talk a little bit more about just like your day-to-day life. Obviously, you said you've only been living in Dubai for about a year now. Before that, you actually lived in India. That's where we knew each other from. I wanted to talk to you kind of about your impressions of Dubai, what you see like differences in society and culture. So, what was your first impression of Dubai when you moved over there? How's that changed kind of over time as well?
Dubai was like my first city out of India, fresh off the boat to a Middle Eastern country. The first stellar shock was Indians being civilized, right? Everyone is following the rules. You don't really see that in India. Everyone just takes it for granted that nothing's going to happen. You're accountable either through fear of law or fear of penalty of that law. That was the first big shock, a cultural shock that law can be something that is so enforced into every human being that they act civilized. So, in the start, it was definitely fun, right? Just every corner was a new experience. Putting yourself out there, meeting your colleagues. I've worked in this company for 2 years before coming here, right? I've been working with the C-suite hand in glove for 2 years. It's nice to like go into their room and say good morning rather than just type a message saying good morning, boss. Let's start the day by kicking people out. And before coming to Dubai, I've only worked like from my house because I entered the labor force just before COVID, right? It was a huge difference going to work every day. It's not as easy as sitting at home, casually waking up 15 minutes before your start of the day and taking your own sweet time to do things. It's like half an hour into it when I'm done with my morning emails, communicating with my team. I can just go cook some breakfast and come back. It's just there's no dependency on getting everything, starting the day strong, and then having that snowball effect for the next 8 hours to have a productive day, right?
Hmm.
So that was quite different. I was living in a hotel also for the first 8 months. 8 months? Yeah, 8 months till I got my Emirates ID. That's a residency card that allows you to live in this country. Depending on your employer, you get a certain amount of years. Until then, I was the burden of my company and they paid for my hotel, which was great. Living in a hotel was quite difficult because you can't cook your own food. But I had this luxury that even my food and my stay was completely provided by the company. I was able to save a lot of money, really try different food that way. I definitely miss it now. Now that I have my Emirates ID, adulting life has begun. Couldn't save as much. So that was quite still fixed in the lap of luxury, right? So it was a good start that way. The nuances of a new lifestyle is, of course, breaking out of your comfort zone, making new friends, interacting with people from all walks of life. As much as a certain ethnicity is centered in Dubai, there are about 40% Indians in Dubai, right? But in my workspace, it's completely diversified. Most of the people are from different parts of the world itself. So interacting with them on a day to day basis, understanding their upbringing, their conditioning, uh, I would say just becoming a little more civilized in the form of corporatism, right? You put a facade on who you are, you act a certain way, you sit a certain way, you think before you speak, you report to certain people in presence. So that learning curve was quite quite tough, right? A nice challenge to conquer. Yeah. And definitely the cherry on the top of the Dubai experience is picking up a new sport. Prior to this, I was a sloth doing nothing in India in the form of sports. But here I've picked up paddle, which is a lot of fun. Everyone plays paddle, Manoj, here. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I've actually wanted to try it myself. Their paddle isn't as big, or padel. I think it's people say padel, but it's not as big in the US as it is in Asia and Europe. I think it's a lot bigger there. I think pickleball is a lot bigger in the US. I definitely know there are some courts, but it's not like frequently available. So,
It's it's so widely spread. It's quite unbelievable how in the desert people are playing this sport.
so just kind of going back to your experience. Obviously, I've lived in India myself as well. How much of a shock was it? Like, kind of interacting with other people who aren't Indian. You know what I'm saying? Like seeing other people who aren't Indian.
It was a great moment because as soon as I got out of the airport, the first car I saw was a Porsche 911 and it was a cop car. It was not a regular car, you know. In India, the cops drive a rundown sedan wannabe, and here we are driving supercars like it's nothing. Um, the thing is, wealth is so hyper focused here with individual, you can't really have any opinion about the person, right? And interacting with people who don't look like you, don't speak like you, who have a stronger accent, who don't have the same command over your language. I feel people from Bangalore are educated for the West. Like we're built to sustain ourselves throughout any part of the English speaking world, right?
Hmm.
It was quite fun, honestly. It was a huge learning curve for sure.
Meeting new people, seeing how they talk,
Course, seeing the food that they eat, and of course, they all
like their
dress the same.
diets. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, because this is your first experience ever
It
going out of the
was.
country too, right? So
It
definitely
was,
must have
yeah.
been a shock for you, I'm sure.
There were only two Indians, and the other Indian was my CTO. He's from Bangalore itself, right? And the rest of us are just all walks of life. So it was fun understanding their life and just listening to their stories,
Listening to his
understanding
stories.
people. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
You know, I'm sure, yeah. What's kind of different about your lifestyle, you would say, about when you lived in India compared to when you live in Dubai now?
Well, being Indian, we are spoiled. We take a lot of things for granted because we live with our parents, right? There is house help, there's a cook, things are given to you. I wouldn't say a platter, but life is a lot more easier. You
You're quite
run on,
lazy.
yeah, you run on certain cheat codes and you don't realize it till you step out, right? A lot of hacks. Or stepping out, you become a lot more independent. You are able to prioritize life in a very functional way. It's not an eat, pray, love kind of realization. It's a more functionality perspective of life that you come to realize that you're organized, you know what needs to be done. If you don't do it, no one's doing it, and you have to get it done, right? That was the light at the end of the tunnel. The minute I came to understand that if I don't cook food for myself now, there's no one gonna cook food. Like, you know, things like that. It's these small learnings,
You
which is
definitely learn some skills you probably wouldn't have picked up if you lived your whole life in India, right?
of
Like
course.
cleaning. I'm sure you never cleaned that much before when you
Come
lived in
on, we're not
India.
I think both of us were spoiled in that way. There were people who came and cleaned for us.
No, I'm saying had you ever like wiped your floors and stuff when you were living in India? I had it, so I only picked that up when I moved to the US, you know?
Of course, I did do a lot of that thing, lot of cleaning at home. What was an absolute stellar contrast was doing my own laundry. That was just, it's not difficult. It's not that I go to the washroom and go the Indian way of slamming my clothes, but just like taking it, putting in the laundry, drying it, and prioritizing all these small tasks like shopping for your grocery, knowing exactly what you need to be in your kitchen, the livestock. I mean, the you know how if you keep eggs for too long in your fridge, it gets spoiled. I realized that after 20 days, your eggs get spoiled.
Really? I
That
didn't
is
even know that. But I don't keep eggs for 20 days, so eggs go by pretty quick in my house. So
one more thing here. People shop like in bulk, like the people buy 30 eggs. Anything lesser than that is just like, why would you go to the grocery store? You know, and the cost of living. That's something that we didn't touch base on. Coming from India to, I would say Dubai is a first world country because the lifestyle here is that expensive, right? The cost of living is astronomically high.
I mean, but you're making the amount of money to live there comfortably. So there's a difference in amount of money you're making as well, right? So
Of course, but you're just stuck with the mentality that a packet of yogurt is 100 rupees, but over here it's 400, or it's $1 and you go to $10. You're just stuck in that mentality. Like, why on earth would I pay so
Why
much?
pay so
It's the
much?
same it's the same ingredients. It's not that, it's just branding. That's about it.
But I think everything's getting more expensive, right? I had Harsha on the last podcast, and he was telling me how a packet of chips is now 20 rupees, which used to be like 10 rupees back in our day. So everything's getting more expensive, even in India. So I was actually talking to another friend of ours, and he was telling me they charge 150 rupees for a dosa now. So
That's bonkers. That's inflation and greed of capitalism.
yeah, I think where we grew up, Bangalore, is also very populated now, much more than when we were living there for sure. So I think that just happens in any place that's developing. Right?
I was reading about how Bangalore or three cities in India are the most quickest in terms of urbanization in square feet. Bangalore is the largest and the fastest growing urbanizing city in the world. So, with so much of hyperdensity of population, the spectrum of services definitely exists. You can still get a 40 rupee dosa and you can get a 180 rupee dosa.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's also just like if you know, you know, right? Someone
Yeah.
who's not from Bangalore may be like, oh, okay, 150 rupees, this is normal price here. But then they just don't know that, oh, I could go across the street and get it for 40, right? It's just kind of knowing the city, living there. I think you just learn that from time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
how do you kind of stay connected to your roots back in India? Do you visit often?
I've gone back only twice. How do I stay connected? It's tough, man. Navigating through friendships, like the friends that I have, I've known them for a long time. When you're in a new city, it's quite arduous to communicate because they're on a different time zone. For me, it's not too bad. It's just 1.5 hours, which is uh, which is great. Unlike you, God, it's 8 hours for you.
No, it's more than eight. It's like not. It's 9.5, I think.
So yeah, those nuances exist, but I think you get closer to a certain amount of friends. You don't need that dependency on a day-to-day basis. The quality of conversation definitely changes. You call them when you want to celebrate, just not to rant about your day. You think you have other channels for that. The depth of your friendship definitely increases. Yeah. So staying true to my roots, I go to my favorite Indian spot, have a good crispy masala dosa, and just thank God that a service like this exists in Dubai. That's how I stay connected to my roots.
Yeah, I don't have the luxury of that, so it's nice that you have the ability to do that. I think definitely touching upon what you were saying with friends, right? Obviously, when you're growing up, when you're like 14, 15, 16, you probably were telling your parents every day, like, oh, I'll be friends with my friends. I'll speak to them every day, because that's what you were doing back then. But then
Yeah.
as you grow older, people have their own lives, people have their own responsibilities, and you kind of lose touch and you end up just not speaking to them as often and just not, I guess, staying in touch as much as you would like to, because obviously everyone gets busy. But yeah, I think you stay in touch with the people you want to, and they stay in touch with you as well. And it's great to have friendships where it's kind of like you get back together or you see someone for the first time in a couple of years and everything's just back to normal the way it is. So
Yeah.
that's definitely the best kind of friendships, at least the ones that I've noticed. So, what's your kind of favorite thing to do in the city when you're not working?
I play a lot of paddle, so that's something that definitely takes a lot of my time. A huge amount of my monthly income also goes for the sport. It is expensive to play. That's something I really look forward to. Yeah. Otherwise, it's mostly just focus on the things that I learn through my job and just emulate that over the weekends.
Nice. So, very chill, relaxed lifestyle, not going out partying and stuff.
Not really. Right now, I'm just focused on few things rather than trying to take everything in. There are weekends where I do go spend some time doing fun things other than just playing a sport, explore the city, go to different cities, go to a museum. I went to Hanzim a couple of months ago. That was a great experience. Going for going for UFC next month. So there are things to do. It's not that there are not things to do, but those are just events that you plan for, you don't really do it spontaneously. And going out with your colleagues once in a while, having a great meal with them. I don't really drink that much, and I have to be sober in Dubai. So you're just going with the flow of living a routine lifestyle.
What do you mean have to be sober? Don't you get alcohol in Dubai?
You do, you definitely do, but you don't want to be a lonely guy drinking every day or without people drinking with you, right? And the convenience of getting alcohol is not as easy as how it is in India. There's no MRP stores. Though the alcohol option or the spread is way more diverse than India. Like, it's unbelievable how big the alcohol stores are. It's like an IKEA in some districts in Dubai. Some of the stores are a one floor IKEA spread, 20,000 square feet industrial complex where you can buy liquor for a fraction of a price.
Interesting. So I think just more about your experience in Dubai. What are some differences that you've noticed that you enjoy and then maybe you just also don't like about living there?
One of the differences that I enjoy here is the discipline of commuters. The safety element in Dubai is unparalleled. That's one of the main reasons why a lot of people prefer to live here, especially when you have a certain amount of income coming in and you're able to move around in certain periods. So, this place is an absolute blessing from like literally now, that's October, till April-ish, May. The weather is perfect. It's 22 to 27 degrees. Sun is not hot. It's actually a vibe at this time, right? Just put on some sunscreen and enjoy the weather. There's an ocean right here. It's hyper civilized. And the safety element is so good. Like, of course, there are shady areas, right? Where you can't really leave your wallet in the middle of the street and walk away. But majoritively of Dubai, due to how much they take the need to be uh, need to be disciplined and follow the law, you can leave stuff on the road. You can leave, like, the first experience where I was really taken back was when I left my wallet at the grocery store, right? Or at the counter. No one touched it. Like, it was on a donation can. I just kept it there to take my phone because I use Apple Pay. One more thing, in India, there's no Apple Pay. Here, there's Apple Pay. So that's something that I enjoy a lot. It's quite convenient. You have the NFC technology, bam, and you make a transaction. India, you scan and you put your PIN, and it's a whole other process. So I just left my wallet, and 30, 40 minutes later, I realize, come back, it's right there. So that safety element is something I take for granted and I enjoy, like thoroughly enjoy. Like, I can wear my jewelry and walk around at any point of the day and night, knowing that nobody is going to do anything to me, right? That's something that I really enjoy. Negative side to it is that they're so anal about these rules that they love fining you. If you see Dubai's income, just to make you understand, the entire Dubai city is one land holding. That means a company owns all the land in Dubai and it's subleased to people who want to buy it for 99 years. So you
Really,
can
it's not
technically,
it's a lease
it's
system
a lease. Yeah,
rather
it's
than
a lease.
actually buying and holding the property. Okay.
And the entire city is under one holding, Dubai Land Holding. So the Emirate family that owns Dubai, they just have monopolized the whole system. So one of the main sources of income is through fines. Jaywalking is about $70 fine, right?
Wow.
You know, if you jump a traffic light here, a red light, right? Right now, the fine is up to 50,000 dirhams. So that's about almost $15,000 for jumping a red light, right? And they have it's up to that range. Astronomically wild to know the implications of violating a rule here. If you, and you get, there's certain black point systems. So the black point system is works in such a way that every time you commit a traffic violation, you get a certain amount of points. At 24 points, your license is taken back for 1 year. To play around this system, they allow you to transfer the points. So if I find a lone loser who's very disciplined, I can give him some points for the year.
They let you transfer points to other people?
They do, because you can rack up a lot of points every time you make a big crime. Like if you violate a traffic light rule, you get 12 points. So you can do two of it, or even if it's 6 points, it's four, right? Every violation gives you a certain kind of points. It's amazing. So as you speak to more people about the city and
So
understand how
then
it works,
that means people would just who have ridiculous amounts of money, if they get a point, they're just paying people to take their points from them essentially.
you need to understand that they built this system to keep the people who have a lot of money in check.
Interesting.
It's completely built for that. The Emiratis in Dubai have a diamond spoon. They're born with a lot of privileges. No one can become a citizen of UAE. You're
Hmm.
either born a citizen, and by birth, it means only if your father is an Emirati, will you get an Emirates passport. No amount of investment in the country will give you. If you marry an Emirati lady, also, she can't give it to you. So you will forever be a resident of the country. So the citizens have a lot of perks. You get a free
So
house, you certain amount of money every month coming to you, a fixed amount of money for you to survive.
what if you marry an Emirati lady? Your child, is that an Emirati citizen or no? It's only the
No.
dad side?
Yeah,
Traditional
if you're
rules?
traditional rules, yes. They
Interesting.
might change that. They might change that. That's the whole talk of the town in the coming years. That's what they're going to do towards a little bit of progression. But fun thing, or one more thing I really enjoy, all the taxi drivers, most of them, being an Indian, you see a lot of interaction with Pakistanis, right? 30% of the working class is Pakistanis. And one such conversation with a taxi driver who was a journalist in Pakistan gave me a whole history lesson of UAE, which is worth sharing. All the Pakistanis who came here before the 60s to help build this country were granted citizenships. They were the only lucky peeps who are now UAE citizens,
Interesting.
right? If you came here before 1972, exactly.
So it's only Pakistanis though, no one else who came during that
Or
time.
some Indians and some Nepalis, but majoritively were Pakistanis. Like the majority were Pakistanis, yeah.
Interesting. So
Right?
I think just maybe final question just on your life in Dubai. Do you regret moving there? Do you see yourself living there for a long time? Would you recommend living in Dubai to someone?
Do I regret moving here? Hindsight now? No, I don't. We've had this conversation. At the start, it was quite difficult. But you told me to give it a year or two and then make a collective decision, right? And 1 year from where it started to where I am, I enjoyed the city. There's a lot of changes. I learned a lot about it. Would I would I recommend anyone to come here? It's up to you, I guess. If you really like living in a hyper capitalistic society, this is your spot. We still haven't spoken about a lot of fun rules here with how the city operates and how traffic works and how fines are something that control everyone, right? So if you are open to such rigidity, right, there's no way you're going to be above the law, then you should come here. But there's so much of perks and safety that you're just like, okay, if I have to pay a fine for violating a traffic rule, I'd rather do that than just know that some idiot can come and hit my car and get away with
Yeah, I mean, that's something that you experience in India, right?
a lot of things in India. That's a huge stellar contrast. There's so much of hit and run. Here, there's no hit and run. Hit and go to jail.
Yeah, I mean, in India, you can get away with anything, right? I think the camera system is very good in Dubai, right? It's not even like police on the streets. It's just they have a lot of technology which helps assist with all those sort of cases and sort of issues or any road accidents or anything like that.
It is so systemic, Manoj. just in another 1 month, or the pilot programs are going on, there are automatic cars that go across certain regions where they're notorious for parking violations. So every time you park in any part of Dubai, you pay a certain amount of parking fee. That's quite common in America. In India, it's not common at all. If I park on the street, any by-lane main road, unless it's a designated parking spot, we don't pay anything. Here, anywhere you park, you pay a certain amount of fee. There are cars that go across the entire sections of these congested places that are notorious for these violations. They automatically catch the people, send them a fine. It's 100, 200, 50, 60, $70, depending on how many times you cause the crime. Now, the system is so integrated and robust that if you go to the major shopping malls, like if you go to Dubai Mall, if you go to Mall of Emirates, these are like big, luxurious shopping complexes, right? The creme de la creme. They have a facial recognition system. Every time you enter, it is connected to your residency. So violators are automatically deported. Like there are cops, CID cops, these are like immigration cops, like ICE, that are just sitting there to catch people who enter these malls and take them out.
So basically, it's just like a security system that knows when your visa's expired or you're illegally in the country, is pretty much.
Um, at least it has a way to catch you. There are a lot of people who illegally live here. Right? It's a massive city. Right? These people just don't go to these sections where you can get caught. Um, there are taxi systems. One more thing. There are two types of taxis here. Uh, that's basically the private side. That's all your Ubers, right? And you have a state run, Dubai State Road Transportation Authority run taxi service. The newer cars, like the BYDs, right, have 16 cameras inside,
Hmm.
right? So if you are violating any visa extension, or you're an illegal citizen or an immigrant, automatically it gets reported. So they are really dialing it up. They really want to kick people out. And apparently, this is the season where a lot of illegal people get caught and get deported back.
Interesting. I'd never heard of that, to be honest. So, I mean, I think it's a lot easier when it's obviously Dubai is a big city, but it's not as big as a country as like the US or even India per se, right? So I think it's a little bit easier to implement that sort of technology in a place like that, where it's also a lot newer compared to countries like the US, where infrastructure has already been around for hundreds of years.
Of course, they have such sophisticated cameras on the road. Speeding limit is, let's say, if the speed limit is 80 and you go 100, you have a permissible 20-kilometer limit, right? Or 20 kilometer per hour speed limit. So if it's 80, you're going at 100, it's fine. If you go at 101, it's $200. Fine. Spot.
Wow,
Sent
really? I didn't know that.
200. And the fine increases as the speed at which
Per
you're
mile or
catching it.
per kilometer.
So if you're at like 120, it goes to 300. 140, it's 400. If you're at 200, you get $1,000 fine slapped to you, sent to your message.
Interesting. So what's one thing you kind of think people misunderstand about living in Dubai? Because obviously online it's all about like flashy safety lifestyle, you know. So what's one thing you think people misunderstand about living there?
There's a structure called the Dubai frame. Okay. The Dubai frame basically divides the city into two. The left side of the Dubai frame, depending on which side you look at it, is the European luxurious side. Everything is by the books, beautiful infrastructure, all the new real estate complexes are built there. And the other side is the more traditional spot where people who are not earning six, seven, $8,000 a month live, right? And that is a side of Dubai that has not lost its charm. There is a old world charm to it, which is a basic amalgamation of so many ethnicities living hand in glove, which is fantastic. The other day we went to a Pakistani restaurant and just went ham. Sorry, just went beef on the food, right? It was so good. You can never experience that in India. There's no Pakistani restaurant in India, right? It's so old worldly. I enjoy such experiences, culinary experiences, which are tasteful and pocket friendly. So you don't really need to earn a lot of money to experience some beautiful blessings.
Yeah, I think online it's just like shows you the luxurious side. Obviously, having been to Dubai myself, there are parts of Dubai that are not all luxury. There are just normal parts where normal working class people live as well. And I think obviously you got to experience both sides of the coin, right? You can't just experience the luxurious side. You also got to check out the old world side. I think there's also like a boat, if I remember correctly, where you can go from like the new side to the old side,
Yeah,
if I'm right. Yeah. There's like
there are.
some,
It's a boat taxi that takes you
yeah,
from
boat
one side.
taxi. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what it was.
It's beautiful. They've really thought this through, and it's amazing how they've thought this through in such a large scale. And one more thing in India, at least in Bangalore, there's no skyline. Like
Hmm.
what the tallest building is what utility tower, which Amalia's UB City. I'm sure in America you're spoiled with that. But coming here, though, the entire skyline is massive. Like it's unbelievable. The tower right next to me is 85 floors, right? It's unbelievable that way.
Yeah, I think Dubai skyline though. There aren't many skylines better than that, to be honest. But
It doesn't get better than that for sure.
so living in Dubai for some time now, living in India for most of your life, what's something you've kind of learned about people after living and working in different cultures?
You can list down all the problems a lot of people have. Doesn't matter where you're from. Right. It's quite ironic when you start like bonding with people, like actually getting to know them one level deeper, right? Than your traditional conversations. You understand everyone has the same insecurities. Everyone tackles or deals with the same problems. It doesn't matter if you're from Bulgaria, it doesn't matter if you're from Singapore, most of them come with that same set of problems. The only difference is that their ability to share and interact with another person from a different walk in life is based on their exposure. What I'm trying to say is, like, if someone's from Russia, they're more comfortable speaking in Russian to a person who knows the language, right? Or unless you're exposed to being that comfortable in a common tongue. In India, we take it for granted that we speak in English. A lot of people don't have that luxury. They're mostly more expressive in their native language. Like, for example, a lot of people here speak Arabic. You can see the conversational, the direction, the depth of what words they use and how they express themselves when they interact with their peers and when they interact with someone in a different common language.
Hmm.
So, like, you and I can speak in English and just vibe.
It's
Not a
natural
lot of
to us. It's not
Yeah,
natural
not
to
a lot of
everyone.
people can have that. Not a lot of people are privileged to speak a common tongue in the same way they are in their mother tongue. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I mean, I've personally seen people who were from the Middle East in college. They would be able to speak to some random Middle Eastern dude just as soon as they figured out they were Middle Eastern, right? But speaking to someone who's not from the Middle East, it was obviously a lot more difficult for them. And I think that just goes for everyone, right? You're more comfortable with the people who would be more assimilated into your culture and understand your journey as a person a lot easier because obviously growing up in India, we are taught things a certain way and we are living life a certain way, right? So for me and you to connect with each other, if we didn't know each other at all, it would be a lot easier than for me to connect with someone who's American who had no idea of my experience growing up, right? So I think
Yeah,
that kind of plays a part in it as well.
it does. Language barrier plays a huge role. Like I can connect with a lot of Europeans, not the same way I do connect with, brown
Someone who's
skinned Indians.
Indian. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
but
that definitely makes sense.
it's not difficult. There are so many things that we can speak about, right? It's not the same for a lot of people from different parts of the world. And you learn that. You learn that,
I
yeah,
think
by
I think everyone has the same problems. It's just you don't think everyone has the same problems because they're from
yeah.
different places, different. different people, different families, different cultures. But at the end of the day, we're all the same. People are all the same, no matter where you're from, where you're living. So I'd love to talk more about your kind of personal journey, just growth you've experienced in life. So what do you think about your life so far? What do you think are some moments that are like turning points? What do you think are some moments that kind of shaped who you are today and the path you're on today?
Interesting. You have known me through my whole journey from being someone who is dependent on various things to cope with life to now being completely in his own. I'm trying to just like not address what has to be said, but the journey has been extremes, right? There's so many things that have happened. I turned 28 this year. Mostly I was just very grateful to the place I am, coming from the part of Bangalore with the struggles and trials and tribulations I've gone through. A single mother raising me, going through that full middle class grind, to being able to like literally buy my mother a car, just like, here, you know what, you deal with it. You've done good. You've done your bit, able to give back in a lot of ways, save, be an independent person. Looking back, it's great to have experienced all of that in the start where I had the energy, the ability to make the mistakes. You can't make such mistakes at the age of 28 and 29. You can make mistakes, but not the same, right? Like
Well, it's a lot harder to change
you can't.
your path later down compared to earlier.
And most of the psychologists say at the age of 27, 28, 85 to 90% of your personality is built,
Hmm.
right? Unless you have an ayahuasca experience where another 10% reduces, but you are who you are at this point, right? And if you didn't go through those tornadoes of personality discovery, like it can be good, bad, anything in between. As long as you've actually tested who you are in multiple situations, it can be anything. It can be like going from a Catholic church to a mosque. Whatever curiosity you have, religious identity, gender, as long as you've really squeezed that lemon when you were young, I think that's my 2 cent now. When I look back on the entire journey, nobody knows me for all of my mistakes and my journey in the past. It's who I am today and how you narrate your story, right? So yeah, it's important. It's very important to mess up. There's no other way to
Learn
say it.
from your mistakes.
Dude, I haven't even graduated from college in the right sense, right? Like I've jumped multiple courses, just grew my hair out, became a doing whatever the fuck I wanted to, and here I am living the most adult life possible in a different country. It's great. It's good to have that envisionment of your journey, the sense, the lens of gratitude.
Interesting perspective for sure. I think that's something that as just humans, you kind of forget, right? Like the growth that you've had over time, people don't really reflect on it and kind of have gratitude for it. I think just both of us, we've definitely grown a lot since we were like 16, like our life at 16 compared to now. I think the conversations are a lot different, right? The
It was, yeah,
perspectives were also very different as well. So I think, yeah,
absolutely.
you're definitely right. It's definitely a blessing to be able to have looked back and been like, wow, I had so many great experiences, so many great moments, life lessons that really taught me and made me who I am today. So definitely something I would also say I would be grateful for. So how do you personally kind of define success and how has that kind of changed over time?
Success, interesting. In the start, success was just a big fat bank account, a lot of disposable income, just having that fixed dollar value in your head, how much you want. But as you grow up, success is a fun way to look at goals and how you've achieved that, right? Or you've heard of Daniel Sloss, the comedian.
I have not.
He has this really good stand-up set. It's called Jigsaw. Jigsaw was one of the most funniest yet eye-opening and constructive stand-up comedy series I've ever watched. He talks about I'm just going to touch base on that because it's redefined the way I look at success, right? He has two super intelligent parents, and he is the runt of the litter in terms of diving in the exact opposite side. His intelligence comes from self awareness and humor. There's no intelligence in education and being an academic. He spoke to his dad at a really young age and asked him what makes a happy life and what makes a life worth living, had that curiosity to find out that answer at a young age. And his dad beautifully explained it. Look at life as a jigsaw puzzle, right? You have certain things that have to be constructed. Those can be your friends, the corners of the jigsaw. You start with the corners, obviously. Your friend, your personality, your family, your hobbies, what you like. These are fundamental characteristics that do change, but are defined as a human being born on this planet. These are things that you want to do. You want to have that figured out. As you come closer to the center, you create your inwardly moral fortitude. You figure out what your values are, what you stand for, who your partner is, and things like that. The self actualizing, the self aware parts of your personality, right? So for me now, success is broadly based on just building this jigsaw. It's as simple as that. Like work, friends, family, passion. In between is just self satisfaction and spiritual journey, right? I don't want to sound like a person trying to drive towards self actualization, but definitely aware of all the inner workings of my personality. Like, be calm, be happy, be present, do good, things like that. Because you live with yourself, and being in a new country definitely makes you spend a lot more time with yourself. So, that is my definition of success now. Just have all of these figured out, these tiny goals, and work towards it.
So, following up on that question, how would you define happiness then?
Happiness is definitely an emotional state, right? It's not something that I keep diving towards, but it's an emotional state that at the end of the day, if I know I've achieved all the small little goals, the small steps that I've taken towards that, it gives me happiness. Not every day is the same. There are days where I don't work out. There are days where I over risk. There are days where I want to throw a piece of pork at my boss, right? Everyone has those days. But generally, if I'm sticking to the trajectory of what my jigsaw is, that's a happy day for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously, even with just previous episodes, I've mentioned this as well, right? Life is just ups and downs, and it's about trying to have as many ups as you are having as many downs. Because I think life is just shitty, and it's about just having those moments of happiness or joy where you're just kind of like, wow, today's a good day, you know? It's going to be more shitty than it is going to be good, that's for sure. But it's about finding those good days as well.
So I got a new colleague, Manoj. His name's Enrique. He's a boy genius. He's 22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He is a quant engineer, super smart chap, right? Just 3, 4 days ago, he opened up and told me about his depression, his episode where he was really struggling and how he changed his life around. He's the most positive person I've met in a long time, right? And his positivity is contagious. It's quite simple. You ask him how he is, the answer is, I am great, I'm fantastic, I'm just happy to be alive. It's as simple as that. There are so many people who don't wake up. You ask him anything about his job, his answer is very simple. There's so many people without a job. How about your meal? Was it bad? Because we all get pre-cooked meals. How was your meal? So many people don't have food, and that perspective is incredibly contagious. You're having a moment of downtime, speak to him, and he just tell you, be happy that you're alive, man.
No, it's definitely about being optimistic, right? Like
Yeah.
obviously, like I was saying, life's ups and downs, but in your down periods, if you're still optimistic, you're
Hmm.
gonna be a lot happier than this person who's down about them having some sort of bad luck or bad time, right? Like if you have a positive outlook or positive mindset during that time, you're obviously gonna have a better experience than the person who's sulking, crying, disappointed. It's just all about perspective and mindset again, right? So
True.
going
True.
back to sort of the previous two questions as well. Do you think happiness and success go hand in hand with each?
That's a utopic perspective, right? Because you need to define what your jigsaw is, and if success involves you to achieve, like, it has to be realistic goals. What I'm trying to say is, if you we have friends who are only happy if they make $1 billion, for example. They have a monetary value of what would make them successful and happy, right? Until they achieve that, they feel that they're not successful. And there are some friends that we have who are just content if they travel to 2 to 3 countries a year, right? And if those are your goals of success, you can definitely be happy. And there are some friends who are just happy to be doing nothing in their life. Right? We have that full spectrum of people who we can base this answer on. So it's not given that you're going to be happy and successful, or you will be successful and it doesn't work hand in glove.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's interesting perspective. I think it also depends on the person themselves, right? Some people super driven,
Yeah.
they don't feel like they've done enough, so they could probably never be happy unless they've achieved, like you were saying, what they want to achieve. And then there's some people who are just happy to wake up each day, happy to just be able to eat a good meal or just see a friend in the evening. It's very, very different based on person and mindset and just perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Slowly.
kind of relating to these topics. So, do you think life has a purpose that we're meant to find? Do we create our own meaning? How does that kind of work for you?
Again, that's it depends on how spiritual you are, right?
So,
I think
I'm
that
talking more on your perspective.
well, I feel there is a purpose. I'm very spiritual in a lot of lenses that I look at life with. Purpose of life, still trying to figure it out, but there is a purpose. I take my meaning from Hinduism. There's a lot of stories that can help you find purpose, right? What is the purpose of life? I am not sure. I think it's just not as mundane as what we are all doing. The running the rat race is not the purpose to life, right? And it cannot be as simplistic as just doing a 9 to 5, traveling and living the small moments of life. That cannot be one's purpose. I think purpose is something every individual defines. It doesn't have to be metaphysical. It can also be very grounding, but there is a purpose to life. It's just
Interesting.
how you want to,
How
what
you
you
want to
want.
define it.
Yeah, comes down to that.
And I think obviously everyone's gonna have a different purpose and define it a different way as well, right? But no,
Yeah.
I definitely agree with what you're saying. It's definitely not working a 9 to 5, but there may be something you maybe do later on in life that's maybe it's helping people or maybe it's having a family. Some people it could even be raising your family, making sure they're good. Really just depends on the person, I guess. So what's one belief or mindset that you live by that you think has made like a big difference in your life?
The belief and mindset is that doesn't matter if you make mistakes. It doesn't matter about your intention while you make that mistake. As long as you're able to look yourself and just do what needs to be done to finish that circle and start something new, I think that is what is the grounding belief that allows me to just go ahead.
Interesting. So, just kind of relating to that question then, how do you deal with maybe uncertainty about your future?
Well, my career has given me a lot of tools to deal with that. I deal with it on a day-to-day basis. The reality of uncertainty due to the financial markets being so dynamic in nature, you come to realize that it exists and you can just work around what tools you have. So I deal with that by just accepting the uncertainty. At any point, you can lose your job. I don't think too far ahead. Try to just live in the moment and look at it from the lens of just being a trader. It helps a lot.
No, I definitely agree. I think what you said with living in the moment, something I've been trying to do as well. You shouldn't really be thinking about the past and what you've done and the mistakes you've made or what's
Yeah.
going to happen in the future because no one can predict the future, right? You may even think like, oh, this is going to happen. I'm going to do this, 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 and then it's just a complete 360.
Absolutely.
I think just living in the moment's definitely something I would live by as well. So, looking back at your journey so far, 28 years old, what's something you're extremely proud of and you will take forward for the next years to come?
Not giving up. There were many moments when I wanted to give up, like be comfortable and live that lifestyle that I wanted. Just not giving up, constantly pushing out of that. That's something that's, I have that perseverance, and I know that no matter what life throws at me, it's been way worse. It's okay. I can restart at any point, redo the whole thing. Self belief and perseverance. I don't think a lot of people can shake that out.
I think, especially if you watch any other podcasts or if you've heard people speak, right? They always talk about how consistency and discipline always beats talent, right? So I think that kind of plays a part in what you're saying as well. You've always been consistent and disciplined with what you've been doing, and you've always put in the work. You've not
I try.
started something and then you've just, I mean, maybe there is something in life you've started and then just given up, but anything you've really pursued, you've definitely put in the work and put in the hours and time. And I think from that you reap the rewards as well, right? So
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, I don't look at it like that all the time, but it's nice to listen to it from a really good friend of yours. So that's how they look at your journey. It's great. It's a great feeling.
I mean, I think with anything, right? If you put in the time and effort, obviously the time frame is going to vary per person, right? But as long as you're doing the right things, eventually things will work out, right? You may not
Absolutely.
always believe that in your journey of getting there because obviously there's going to be hard times, but as long as you keep consistent and keep doing the right things, I think eventually you'll find the right path. So at least that's how I look at it.
Yeah, that's refreshing. Yeah,
Yeah, so when you picture your ideal life, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, what does it look like for you?
that's a tough question, Manoj. Well, I would love to not be doing a 9 to 5 for sure. I would love to have a couple of ventures going across different forms of work like agriculture, philanthropy, trading, something related to another spectrum of life at that point that I want to do. 10 years from now, I hope there's a lot less internal muck that I need to throw out. Dealt with all the traumas, lived with life, is like a one directional game, right? Or more stability internally. That's what I really want to pursue. Other things, take it as it comes, right? To which country I'll be living in, who knows, man? China could just nuke the fucking world, or Donald Trump could do anything. So there's no point of just looking 15 years. I think the base things that I just want to do, as I told you, just a lot of stability is what I'd love to go for.
No, for sure. I think everyone's looking for stability, right? At the end of the day. You wouldn't have thought that when you were maybe 15, 16, but I think as you grow older, your perspective really changes.
And the stability is just internal maturity and those kind of stability. I don't want to have these crashes of roller coasters of self-doubt in between, things like that. That's more, that's the silver lining, I think, in 10 years, 15 years. Maybe like,
Be more in check with their emotions, not be as stressed, not have as much anxiety.
of course, and just grow in those perspectives of life. That would be the best version.
I think that comes with experience and time as well, right?
It does,
Obviously
yeah.
when you're a kid, you don't have responsibilities, so you don't really think about things other than maybe going to school, coming back home. Once you turn 18, you're slowly getting into the phase of life where you have to worry about yourself. And then after you turn 22, 25, I think you then learn about, oh, I have to make money. I have to save money. I have to do this. There's so many bills, there's just different phases in life. And I think it's obviously everyone's going to have a different journey in that phase, but I think you end up learning the same things, maybe even in different phases, but you learn to control your emotions and kind of understand, okay, this is happening for this reason. 10 years down the line, you may think back to that moment, you know? That's just how I think life goes in general.
And everyone at different parts of their life are trying to achieve certain things. And that's what they want to focus on, right? As you said, at 18, you're just focusing on a different set of problems to solve. And at 25, it's a different set of problems to solve. When you ask the goal of what needs to be solved in 10, 15 years, or how you see your life, it's based on your current problems that you want to solve, because the next set of problems will come then. And at the age of 40, I think our health would be a priority more than wealth, if that makes sense, right? We would have done certain things in order to get that side of our problems sorted. I hope to God that's true. But you know what I'm saying, right? It's just a certain amount of problems that you or try to solve different things as you grow up.
No, for sure. I definitely agree. And I think again, it's also based off like financial situation and what you're doing at that point of time. But everyone ends up learning the same things or going through the same things at different points, right? It's just
Absolutely.
that's just life. It's like different levels and it's about passing each level as you go. Some people go from 1 to 10 quicker than you may go from 1 to 5. But again,
Yep.
it's just that's just how people are and how the world is, right? Some people are more successful than others. You can't really compare yourself to someone else because they have a completely different path and journey and experience just in life itself.
Of course. Of
I
course. Yeah.
I think this has been a great interview, but I have one last question for you, to be honest.
Okay.
So, if you could give yourself advice, maybe 10 years ago, or maybe someone who is on the same path or journey as you, what would it be?
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. 10 years ago, I was 18, just done with
Maybe
T.
maybe not even 10 years ago. Maybe someone who's in India who's thinking about moving for work or someone who's trying to get into the same field as you are. What's advice you would give to someone who's asking for advice from you? What's one thing you would say you've learned?
Okay. I think the best outlook now is to evaluate your risk. It's good that I'm on the risk team. My boss would be happy that I'm saying this, but definitely evaluate the risk that is there for every decision. Just don't blindly take a decision or do something without not only perceiving the intrinsic side, but also look at what could be lost if you do this in the wrong way. Your time, your opportunity, the effort, the money. Just look at it from a whole perspective. Make the mistakes. It is your learning curve, right? It is the time for you to, it's the playground for you to make mistakes. But just understand that if this happens, if don't prepare for the worst, but just be aware of the worst situation. That's something I definitely give myself that advice.
No, for sure. I think taking a good look at what you're planning to do and thinking about the consequences before you actually just dive in, for sure. I think that's something we both probably didn't do back in the day and probably would have
Not at
helped
all.
both of us, you know? Maybe not studying for an exam or not caring about school, just sleeping in class, you know? That's something I was definitely guilty of.
Missing
Anyways,
classes, no, not
yeah.
coming to class. So many
Exactly,
things.
right? There's so many things you can look back on and you're just like, wow, why was I doing that? Why I shouldn't have done that. But anyways, I appreciate you coming on, Bong. I think this was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it.
It was a lot of
But
fun.
anything else you want to say before I let you go here?
I'm looking forward to talking more about just the trading side of what I do, because that is an extremely technical side. There's a lot of information that I'd love to share and hope to be on your podcast. I wish it multiple milestones that need to come. Looking forward to seeing how much this would grow. And yeah, it was great, man. I'm glad that we finally were able to do this. You know,
It's
it
been a
was
long
great. I
time
enjoyed
coming,
it.
yeah. No, but it's been fun. I enjoyed the conversation. It's very thoughtful, insightful. So appreciate you coming on and we'll hopefully see you another time.